This memoir is my personal experience with the policies that were part of that reform, but it's told through the eyes, ears, and heart of the naive teenager that I was growing up in urban America. My story includes the rise of Black power and pride. The Black Panther Party and the Afro-Sets and the militants were really known as a great terrorist threat, but in the community where I lived, I knew them as a benevolent force that served food programs and took kids on trips to amusement parks and inspired pride in the community. My story also includes the rise of Black political power in the election of Carl B. Stokes as the first African-American mayor of a major American city. My story begins in the summer of 1974 as I sought to seize the advantage of one such opportunity. It was the A Better Chance program, which plucked poor kids like me from projects and placed us in very exclusive private preparatory schools. My great surprise that year was that my father, whom I barely knew and who had been denied almost every opportunity to fulfill his potential, my father would prove to be my greatest encouragement in going on and succeeding at prep school, to my great astonishment. So now I'd like to just read some pages from my book, so sit tight, this is the story. The number 14 bus runs east on Kensman Road, straight through the steel heart of Cleveland. I stepped on at East 55th Street as the bus headed uptown to Mount Pleasant, the neighborhood where the people who worked at the steel mills lived. We used to live there before we moved to the King Kennedy Estates public housing project. I used to see the steel men coming in the evening, gleaming, glistening sweat, driving long, metallic green Ford Grand Torinos, Buicks, Chryslers, and sometimes Cadillacs. With the money left over from paychecks full of overtime, they bought nice two-family houses in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood. In summer, the Black steel men painted their new homes shiny coats of red, yellow, and green. Republic Steel pays that long money, enough to buy a nice house with a porch, Mama was always saying. Mama was a hard-working woman, too dignified to pout about her disappointments in life. But some days, disgust got the better of her, and words like lemon and salt squeezed bitter off her tongue, stinging my open adolescent wound, an absent father. We could have brought us that house in Mount Pleasant instead of ending up down here in the project. If your father could have got a job in the steel mills, she would say, then purse her lips in regret. But my father, Charles Skeeter Lyles, was not a man made of steel. Time after time, he had searched and still no mill would hire him. Something about a statement in his Navy discharge papers. Even when I was in kindergarten, when he still lived with us, he spent his days jobless, out roaming the stratosphere where love and astronomy collide. He'd look skyward and swore that the stars were shining in broad daylight. You just can't see them because the light of the sun is drowning them out, Charles Lyles explained to me. But they're there. Oh, yes, they are. Skeeter, who told you all that stuff about stars? My 5-year-old self demanded to know. Impressed with his celestial savvy, I reported to my Sunday school class at Mount Olive Baptist Church that Charles Lyles, my father, could find his way around heaven, and that he also knew what kind of clouds God slept on. I was proud that even though Charles Lyles did not make it to church as often as some Sunday school students' daddies did, he obviously was privy to special information from heaven. But it did him no good. His hours idle, his pockets empty. Too often, that sky over Cleveland, gray as a cemetery, descended on his soul, landing him dead drunk off a bottle of Thunderbird wine, hopelessly, painfully earthbound at the Kinsman Bar and Grill. That is where I hope to find him as I rode the number 14 bus up Kinsman Road that summer day in 1974. 9 years had gone by since he left me, my mother, 2 sisters, and 2 brothers. Since then, I had seen Charles Lyles only half a dozen times or so, maybe. We now lived in the King Kennedy Project, a place of brown brick and cinder block buildings, pissy hallways, steel doors, gritty tile, tar-top playgrounds, ice cream trucks, trash incinerators, rats, and murderers. There was much to tell Charles Lyles. A month before, upon my graduation from 9th grade at Kennard Junior High School, all the English and Social Study awards had gone to me. Outstanding. That's what my teachers had called me. Miss Lyles is an outstanding young lady. Most outstanding of all, I had been awarded a $12,000 3-year scholarship to attend the Hawken Upper School in Gates Mills, Ohio, a private school for rich white kids way out in the At Hawken, I became comfortable being uncomfortable. At Hawken, I felt I would never fit in, and that was that. I seemed to upset that world at every turn with my awkward, incorrect grammar, my ghetto insights that sometimes made my classmates snicker, or at least I thought they were snickering at me. There were students, I think, who did not believe a girl like me, Afro and American from the ghetto, deserved to be at their school or at a school like Hawken. Academically, I recovered, graduating with a B average and winning several academic book awards. But Hawken had been my crucible, forging me in the fires of rejection, rooted in the gross injustices of my native land. Gradually, my confidence and courage came back to me. In the end, Hawken had taken my identity and given it back to me. Smarter, stronger, bolder. Because of it, because of this experience, I became a more powerful young woman in this world. Thank you very much for listening to me.